Well, I asked, where's the beef? Let's call this for what this is. Oh my God! They are so hopelessly woke. How dare you? That is the intellectual capital of the left today. Give me a break. You are now watching the Daily Roundup. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Daily Roundup on this, a Monday, June 19th, 2023. I'm David Menzies, and my co-host, well, let me tell you a little bit about my co-host. Do you know what, folks? Today is Canadian Tax Freedom Day. In other words, from this day on, what you earn goes to you, not the government. And my friend was so happy about this. She was going to go out and buy a new car, but She just can't afford the GST. She is the she-devil with a sword. She is the Khaleesi of Northern Alberta. She is Sheila Gunn Reid. How you doing there, Sheila?
David, I'm great, but another enthusiastic introduction for me like that, and you're going to scream those glasses right off the top of your head. I don't know if you realize that they're up there.
Well, you know, happy Tax Freedom Day to you. I mean, it only took more than half a year to get here. How outrageous. Yeah. But I guess the silver lining, we know every penny of our tax dollars are being spent diligently. You know, like $6,000 a night hotel rooms for blackface and, you know, $100,000 in airline food. I mean, how do you even do that if you tried? But Sheila, I digress. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of today, and we have a whole lot to talk about, Lady Manzoid was out cleaning the shed for spring cleaning, and she discovered, well, let's put it politely, the calling cards of a certain wild animal, which we originally thought was a mouse. So we went down to the hardware store and we bought this. It's a mouse trap. And the next day, not only was the cheese gone, the trap was gone. So that means it's not a mouse, it's a rat. So we bought this, a rat trap. Now, first of all, after 3 nights in a row, the rats get the cheese, but it does not spring the trap. And what I'm really pissed off about, Sheila Gunn Reid, is that setting this trap 3 times, this thing went off in my hands, and it was so painful. And I guess it's true that, you know, build a better mouse trap, build a better rat trap, the world will beat a path to your door. You'll be a multimillionaire overnight. But here's the deal. Much like George Costanza's father from Seinfeld, I will not live with vermin. You have told me Alberta is a rat-free province. Right. This will make me go and try to buy one of those McMansions you're always talking about near Calgary. Sheila Gunn Reid, please tell me, is it true if I move 2,000 kilometers west, am I going to be free of the rats of the GTA?
Well, depends. But I've never seen a rat here in my entire life. I've lived here my entire life. I spent a lot of time outdoors or places where you think rats might be. Barns, grain bins, outbuildings, sheds, things like that. Never seen one. I do know sometimes they make their way to the airport, but then they have because they come in on the cargo or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And then, but we have special the rat patrol that deal with that. Sometimes they end up at the dump, I think, at Medicine Hat, because some of that trash comes in from Saskatchewan. There's not a joke to be had there. I love my friends from Saskatchewan. There's no rat or trash joke there. But they bring them in, but they have the rat patrol there that works on the Alberta side of the border, but also on the Saskatchewan side of the border to make sure that the rats don't get here. But I've never seen a rat trap in my life. That thing is enormous. Are you sure it's a rat? Could be a raccoon, right?
Yeah, they told me it's a horrible design. It is so true. I mean, I can't believe with all our technology, we can't build a trap that will successfully capture a rat, A, and B, that it's so on a feather trigger, Sheila, that it goes off on your hands 3 times. I mean, the only thing I can think of in the department, again, of a silver lining is, thank God I wasn't wearing my kilt that day. Anyway.
You know what? Have you tried will the sticky strips catch a rat? You know, those sticky things that you put down and then the mouse goes on it and then there's no setting a trap. They just catch them on the sticky stuff. Will that catch a rat?
You know, even if it did, then I got to deal with that live vermin. I just want a dead body to put in the trash can.
I tried using one of those one time, and I caught my cat.
Oh, no.
Oh, she was so mad. But yeah, I caught the cat. Anyway,
I can only imagine. Anyhow, I guess we should.
Was angry.
Okay, then. So, Sheila, it's usually around this point in the show that we go over the ground rules, such as they are.
Yes. Why is your wife cleaning the shed? You don't get out there and clean the shed. She's out there dealing with mice and rats cleaning the shed. What's wrong with you?
Well, she is the caregiver, the caretaker. I'm the mighty hunter. If only I had some ammo that actually worked.
I think your wife's the hunter in that family. Your wife's the hunter in that family. If I
how dare you
know what I'm talking about, and I think I do. This is the Rebel News Daily Roundup. It's just normally hosted by David Menzies and a rotating cast of characters, including myself, wherein we talk about the news of the day or, David's infestation problems, completely unscripted. It's a great chance for us to interact with each other, but more importantly, I think to interact with our viewers at home, because we are streaming live on YouTube, but we're also on Rumble, Odyssey, and Getter. And if you want to interact with us and support the work that we do completely willingly, might I suggest you move away from the censorship platform of YouTube and watch us over on Rumble or Odyssey, wherein you can leave something called a paid chat. On Rumble, it's called a Rumble rant. On Odyssey, it's called a hyper chat. And that gives you a chance to sort of democratize the show, because we will read your paid chat as they come in, but normally with David and myself towards the end of the show. And so if you've got a question, comment, story, idea, just something you want to get off your chest, maybe you don't like my hair, maybe you have some rat advice for David, send it in the form of a paid chat. And it helps us keep the lights on here at Rebel News, because we'll never take a penny from Justin Trudeau. And how could we hold him to account if we did? Friends in the mainstream media.
Sheila, we all love your hair, as they say down at the pricey Yorkville hair salons. It's wild yet controlled. Speaking of hair, let's talk about let's talk about someone who has a who is I guess follically challenged, shall we say? That would be exiting CPC former leader Erin O'Toole. And on his way out, Sheila, this is just so rich. This
guy.
This flaccid, phony, liar, incompetent. Suddenly he's giving advice to Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives about how to run an election. Why didn't he find someone to give him advice back in 2021 when this fraudster tried to pull a fast one on the Conservative base, this fake liberal? And, Sheila, I mean, there's so much to digest. I think later this week I have to co-host for Ezra Levent. I think I want to do a post-mortem on Erin O'Toole. I think as I type that, I'll wear a mask, an M45 no less, to prevent me from, vomiting, to tell you the truth. But why don't we run a clip of him? I think it's with Vashi Kapelis of CTV, that horrible media company that just axed 1,300 people.
They're the good guys, if you take your advice from the Ottawa Carleton District School Board. CTV, they're the good guys. Sheila, you're a demon. Get out of here.
Yeah. So let's see what Mr. O'Toole had to say as part of his parting shots. What a disgrace. Roll it.
The Conservatives won the popular vote in the last two elections. It just wasn't efficient enough. And Mr. Trudeau, some of the polarization is actually focusing and over-delivering your small cohort. So he's now won two minority governments with a smaller popular vote, and in some elections being virtually shut out in certain provinces of the country. So I think had the pandemic not been a part of the discussion, I had a lot of fiscal Conservatives that wanted to see the Conservatives with a smart plan on the environment. A lot of business leaders, for example, or small business owners that wanted to make sure they lowered emissions for their kids, but were worried about our competitiveness, worried about trade relations, thought Mr. Trudeau's ethics were questionable. So there's a bunch of voters that want to see the Conservatives address all issues. I think Pierre will do that. The Conservatives won the popular vote.
Well, Sheila, I'll hold my fire until you speak. But once again, the Conservatives won the popular vote last two elections, which is true. Too bad we don't have a system that works that way. It's all about winning the riding-rich provinces, especially Quebec and Ontario. But nevertheless, what is your analysis on what he just said?
It's like watching Encino Man, but for politics. I'm like, did you just get unfrozen after the last 2 years? Did you miss everything that transpired, including how you lost and then were thrown out by the party? but for not being conservative enough. Like, his solution to offering voters a real alternative to the Liberals is to what? Be more like the Liberals? Is that what he's getting at here?
Yep.
That's not quite how it works. He already tried this, by the way, and lost. He was the guy who said, actually, you know what? After I signed that no carbon tax pledge, I'm actually going to bring in a carbon tax, but we're going to call it something different. It was like some sort of like carbon exchange scheme thing that he wanted people to do. Like, you had a carbon budget. Sounds a lot WEF-y, doesn't it? But that's his solution to getting voters to switch to the Conservative Party, is to offer them no reason to switch to the Conservative Party. If you're just going to get liberal policies from a guy in a blue tie, why would you move away from the guy in the red tie, Erin? That's why he lost. That's why he didn't inspire new voters in the GTA. And that's why the party got rid of him. The party got rid of him because they felt he wasn't conservative enough. And the convoy broke him. The convoy exposed him.
Yep.
And he hasn't figured anything out about the successful Conservatives of the last 2 years. Danielle Smith just won in Alberta. How? By being more conservative than Jason Kenney. She decided, I'm going to move further in the direction of civil liberties, further in the direction of small taxes, which is what conservative voters want. They actually want you to be conservative. Scott Moe, likewise, doing the same thing in Saskatchewan. I toot Alberta's horn all the time, but on a lot of these issues, Scott Moe is beating us to the punch. He's just doing it a little bit less flamboyantly than us Albertans do. But smaller government, lower taxes, strong on civil liberties. He's trying to tell us that there's a whole swath of conservative voters out there who actually want the carbon tax. What planet is he from? Who are these people? I've never met them in my entire life.
Well, Sheila, I recall the 2021 election vividly. We were all covering that election, of course.
Yeah.
And what I'll never forget is in the first week, Erin O'Toole had an incredibly good week, and Justin Trudeau had a horrible week. And all the columnists, including the likes of Warren Kinsella, never judge a campaign by the first week, which is true, actually. And then Blackface had another terrible second week, and Erin O'Toole looked like an ambassador. He looked prime ministerial. He was saying and doing all the right things. And then slowly the screw began to turn. And I know what happened, Sheila, behind closed doors. I know what the unspoken strategy is. Okay, we have our conservative base in the bag. Now let's reach out to the lefties. And they did. Suddenly, Erin O'Toole is open to carbon taxes. Suddenly, Erin O'Toole is open to a gun grab. And suddenly, what happened on election night is conservatives who were disgusted by being taken for granted yet again stayed home in droves, and Blackface, who had a disastrous campaign, at least in the first half, came up with another minority government. And Sheila, I'll point to one riding. It's the one just south of me in Richmond Hill, and it's the riding of Richmond Hill. Majid Johari, he is someone who, unlike the vast majority of Persians who live in Richmond Hill, I think it's a significant minority, 14%, if I believe right, he actually supports the regime in Iran, even though the Iranians that are living in Richmond Hill do not. In 2019, this was the closest riding in all of Canada, a photo finish. In fact, the Conservative candidate, Kostas Minagakis, went to bed thinking he had won, and then, we counted the mail-in ballots overnight around 4 a.m., Kostas, and it looks like Majid, with about 200 votes, squeaked past you. Well, I can tell you, so a 200 vote spread in 2019, the closest riding in all of Canada. 2021, I believe Johari won by almost 5,000. Was that 5,000 new votes coming to support this creep, this cretin that supports the Iranian regime? No, it was conservatives in Richmond Hill staying home, saying, you know what, Erin O'Toole, the hell with you. Carbon taxes, gun grabbing, bye-bye. How else can you explain that vote swinging the way it did, Sheila?
Well, and look, he lost seats in what is known within conservative circles as Fortress Alberta. He lost seats in Fortress Alberta.
Yes.
That is a disaster, an absolute disaster. And again, like I say, it's like he's Encino Man, but for politics. He just woke up, shook the icicles off, and he's like, I'm going to tell this conservative movement that is rebuilding itself after I did something terrible to it, what it needs to do. I'd rather listen to somebody successful. Why don't we talk to Scott Moe? Why don't we talk to Danielle Smith about how they are managing to keep their provinces conservative? You know what? He should be the conservative movement should be talking to Danielle Smith, because Danielle has something quite interesting that the conservative movement needs advice from her about. She
Sheila
is repairing an Erin O'Toole style disaster in Alberta, and she's fixing it. So maybe they could stand to learn something from her and not this guy.
I am dead certain in my heart of hearts, Erin O'Toole would look upon Danielle Smith as an extremist, as far
sure.
right. And you know, the very chutzpah, my favorite Yiddish word, no, I'm not Jewish, but I love those Yiddish words, folks. Chutzpah, sheer unmitigated gall, this loser of losers, this lying liar, this fake conservative, for his farewell tour, he's going to give advice to Poilievre of how to win? Are you kidding? You know what that's like, Sheila? It's like the GM for the Toronto Maple Leafs phoning the GM of the Las Vegas Golden Knights saying, here's some advice for next season if you want to repeat as Stanley Cup champions. Oh, thank you very much. Mr. Haven't won the cup since Lester Pearson was prime minister. Are you kidding me? I mean, Sheila, this is beyond hypocrisy here.
Well, it's like our friends in the mainstream media criticizing our business model. And I'm like, didn't you guys downsize this week and the week before and the week before and the week before that? And we're growing and hiring and training new people and covering more stories than ever. These people are just absolute unmitigated failures. But the worst part is they lack complete and total self-awareness. And
let's talk about the mainstream media as in accordance with Erin O'Toole. Two things, Sheila. I guess it would have been the year before the election, summer of 2018. There was Erin O'Toole coming to the Independent Press Gallery debate. I was there. He gladly took my questions, went on chapter and verse, no problem, no running, chasing him down to the men's restroom like our former colleague Ian Bexey had to do with Peter MacKay. And, totally lovey-dovey with us. Fantastic. Yeah. And then he becomes leader, and suddenly we're media non grata. To the point, and I will never forget this, ever, Sheila. We covered his last press event in Markham, Ontario, on the Sunday before the Monday election day. And he saw the Rebel News mic flash. He curled up into the fetal position in his bus, being late for his own press conference for 45 minutes because he didn't know how to deal with a Rebel News question. And the way he dealt with it ultimately was just like how Blackface would deal with it. He got his soy boy staffer, Corey Hahn, to come up, and he said, I could barely hear him because he had one of those masks on at the time. And he had an RCMP officer said, you're under arrest unless you get off the property. And I said, where's the property line? And they said the curb. My camera woman and I had to step into a live lane of traffic, cars going back by 70 kilometers an hour. And then I learned the next day, the property line is 1 meter in from the curb. We did not have to stand dangerously on a busy street. You are despicable, Erin O'Toole, and you little soy boy, Corey Hahn, for putting us in that kind of danger. Absolutely despicable. You lied, and as far as both of you are concerned, good effing riddance that you are not with this party. Try to find another party that dovetails with your values. I don't know, the Marxist-Leninist Party of Canada, maybe?
Well, and the thing about Corey Hahn is he knows better. Like, he's permitted me into events previously, knows that we are just there to do our jobs, mind our own business, ask honest questions, and go home. But it's so quickly. He changed once he got close to Erin O'Toole's inner circle. What did I call him at the time? A weaponized nerd. And that's what he ended up being. But let's move ahead, because we could dwell on this insignificant man forever, but he's going to fade into obscurity that he so rightly deserves. By the way, I think Erin O'Toole has a lovely family. A lovely family, great kids, nice wife. So hopefully he moves over there, and then it just enjoys that and just leaves politics to the winners. But in
what
my
a concept.
in my quest to find these so-called conservatives that Erin O'Toole tells Vashi Kapelos indeed exists, these pro-carbon tax conservatives, the conservative premiers and others are saying, no, we don't want this carbon tax or any carbon tax because it's going to put us in the poorhouse. We've got this story from the Atlantic premiers here on Rebel News. Atlantic premiers insulted by Ottawa's costly carbon taxes. No, Erin O'Toole said you like them, so stop that. Environment Canada, this is Environment Canada data, by the way, so the government's own data, so consider this conservative rounding down data, predicts the economic cost of the second carbon tax will be nearly $9 billion less in GDP by 2030. After another decade, the cost will be $30 billion. And these are, this is from Premier Andrew Furey. He's Newfoundland and Labrador. That's a Liberal Premier, by the way, saying he takes great exception to force this into a dichotomous issue. Either you believe in exactly what we say or you don't believe in climate change. It's completely logical. It's a false dichotomy. It's a false dilemma. And it's as insulting to us as it is simplistic. And this is not just the carbon tax going up, but this is the clean fuel standards, which is just a closeted carbon tax on gasoline or diesel and everything that comes to you or leaves you, that you buy, you grow, you eat, you need, you wear, it comes to you on a train or a truck. And so this will add to the cost of everything, whether the Liberals want to admit it or not. And you cannot make the distance from the port of Vancouver to Edmonton on that train or truck shorter. You just make the cost of moving it more expensive. That's how it works.
Sheila, as I've always said, there is a political win for the Justin Trudeau Liberals on this file. And they could say this: we believe climate change is real. In fact, we believe it's man-made climate change that is leading to the climate crisis, catastrophe, emergency. Pick your hype word, folks. But at this time, we cannot afford to impose this on Canadians. We've just gone through 3 years of hell with COVID. We have basically an economy in decline. We have interest rates soaring. We cannot impose this economic hardship on Canadians. So until we recover, until we get back on our feet, we are going to expunge the carbon taxes and give Canadians a break. Tell me, how is that not a political will, despite your politics, Sheila, despite where you are on the political spectrum, in terms of at least delaying these taxes, but they won't do it. They are so committed to virtue signaling and wokeism and the cult of climate change that they will, basically ruin people's lives with this taxation.
Well, we're doing exactly that in Alberta. We're saying, actually, we're not collecting the gas tax to help you deal with inflation. We just can't put that burden on you. So gas is cheaper here. But there's a way that the Liberals could approach this while not conceding the argument that climate change is just another way to control your life and a big, disgusting wealth transfer of global Marxism. Which is how I might describe it. But there's a way that they could deal with this. They could say, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to give you a tax break, tax credit. So let you keep more of your own money instead of subsidizing you. If you can show us your emissions reductions and give them targets, say, can you get down 10% in this calendar year or 18 months or 2 years? Like, you got to wait for technology to catch up. If you're a large emitter and you can get your emissions down 10% in 2 calendar years or 2 fiscal years, we're going to give you a tax credit. So then it doesn't actually cost you anything. You're letting the company keep its own money, reinvest its own money, while asking them to drive down emissions if you care about those sorts of things. But they're not completely uncreative. They just want to use the hammer of government to eviscerate the economy in pursuit of their green climate goals.
And, Sheila, I read a stat, I hope I'm getting the figures right, but as we, fight this mythological climate monster by taxing us because of our so-called climate footprint, China on any given year increases their carbon footprint from 10 to 20 Canadas combined. Imagine that in 1 year. And of course, because, they're committed to coal burning plants and they're not, I mean, you can look at some photographs of Chinese cities, the continual haze and smog. So what I'm saying is that climate change, whether you believe it or not, it is a global thing. And our nation, with just some 40 million people and the second biggest country on the planet, is not the problem.
No, of course we aren't. There's a reason why you see all those pictures of people in China wearing masks all the time. And it's not because of COVID. It's because of particulate. And that's actual pollution. Like, I don't think CO2 is pollution. That's ridiculous, actually. When the liberals say we're fighting, carbon pollution. No, that's not pollution. That's what plants eat. But they're wearing masks because the air is so contaminated with particulate that is large enough for a mask to keep out of your lungs. Deal with the real pollution and leave us alone, because we are a forested country. We have the world's largest continuous forest, the boreal forest. We're a carbon sink. If you want to concede that carbon is a problem, I don't, but the liberals tell me they do. If you think carbon's a problem, okay, fine. We've got lots of trees. We're going to be just fine. Worry about China. But China is considered a developing country. Even though they're the world's second largest economy, they're considered a developing economy when you look at these global climate treaties. So they get to do whatever they want until they catch up with everybody else. And the beauty of that is that they're never going to catch up with everybody else, at least according to the United Nations. So their economy will continue to grow completely unabated and unmolested by climate schemes.
And Sheila, not only do these climate change zealots conflate weather with climate, but they also add in pollution to that. And I'll give you a perfect example. 2017, Justin Trudeau's in Toronto. We went to cover it. It was at a theater on Danforth Avenue in Toronto. It was on the heels of Jody Wilson-Raybould leaving, the SNC-Lavalin scandal, yet another one. And it was Trudeau, even though it was just 2017, he was in full campaign mode. And he, along with some other cabinet heavy hitters, were there to just basically do like a cheerleading event for Team Liberal. And Climate Barbie takes the stage and she says, I was just driving down the DVB. I think she means the DVP, Don Valley Parkway. But anyways, PB, details. And then she says this, Sheila, and I'm not making this up. Hands up, everybody who's against pollution. What? And that was her, lead-in to why we need carbon taxes. Because if you're against carbon taxes, then you're pro-pollution. You want to see smokestacks burning garbage unabated. You're dropping your engine oil down sewers to kill the fish. No, they're two different things, but that is their narrative. And I guess it works on feeble-minded liberal voters, Sheila.
They do this all the time. They do this with gun violence too. And they're like, our national day against gun violence. I'm like, yeah, everybody's against gun violence. Like that, just because I own firearms doesn't mean that I'm pro gun violence. Although, I might defend myself with violence if you come to my house and break into my house. But like this, they conflate the two. Like if you like firearms and agree with the responsible ownership of lawfully acquired firearms, you must somehow also be pro-gang violence. They do this sort of thing all the time where they make these as the Atlantic Premier said, these false dichotomies that make absolutely no sense.
And by the way, Sheila, I don't like to gloat. Actually, I love to gloat. At a press conference that same year, I get up to ask Catherine McKenna a question. And I say, David Menzies, Rebel News. And she says, before I can utter the question, "Oh, are you still around?" Well, 6 years later, we're bigger than ever, Climate Barbie.
And she's not.
Where are you?
She's not. Exactly. We're half an hour into the show. We should hit an ad break because segment 2 is, looks like LGBTQ and all the consonants nonsense. So we're going to see if we can just sort of breeze through all those stories after we hit our ad break. But when we come back, I want to talk about the Save the Christians documentary.
Yes.
Okay.
Progressives across this country are going out of their way to erase Canada's national identity, whether it's canceling fireworks or canceling Canada Day altogether. If there's one thing that these folks hate, it's patriotism. So why not support our independent journalism and stick it to the progressives who would love to cancel Canada Day by going to rebelnewsstore.com and purchasing some of our incredible Canada Day themed gear, like this shirt I'm wearing right now. Again, you'll be supporting our important work and you'll be sticking up for Canada's national identity, rejecting progressive cancel culture, and saying, no, we are indeed Canadian. Again, go to rebelnewsstore.com.
Canadians for Truth proudly presents An Evening with Sarah Palin. Get ready for an incredible evening, Sunday, June 18th, 2023. Former Alaska Governor and Vice Presidential candidate Sarah Palin's remarkable journey. Yeah, that event has transpired. That event went past already. It was great. By the way, I was there with Adam and the gang. The event with Sarah Palin was lovely. She's a charming lady. I was sort of walking into the event, just sort of in the probably parts of the hotel I shouldn't have been in. But she's sitting there and she's like, "Oh, hi, I'm Sarah." I'm like, "I know."
Oh, isn't that amazing?
Oh, she's and smaller than I thought. A lot of hair. Yes. A lot of hair. She's subscribes to the Dolly Parton mantra of, tease it to heaven, but spray it like hell. Like really big hair. Really big hair. Lots of hair on a little lady. But anyway, we should
And Sheila, don't apologize for running that ad. I'm sure some members of our audience have a DeLorean DMC 12 with the optional flux capacitor, can go back in time and take in that event. Oh my God, I wish such a device actually existed. Sheila, here's a question before we move on. If you had to go to one era of time on our planet, go back in the past, what year would you set the coordinates for?
Maybe 84? Maybe? I don't know. It just seemed like it was a great time. American innovation, politics were kind of fun. California was still beautiful and not an absolute hell state. I don't know, just 84 maybe. But it was a tough time for Alberta then. So I don't know. I don't know. It depends on where you are, right? Like where you might be in the world, what time you want to go back to and what you want to see.
I'm with you 100%. I drop anchor in the 80s. My goodness, it's inconceivable. In both, 1980 and 1984, Reagan even winning California, for example, to show you how much that state has changed. And it was so normal then. We didn't have to worry about what's the definition of a woman. I mean, it's just so great. But just to visit for a little bit, because I'm a bit of a scaredy cat, I'd like to go back like 120 million years ago to the Jurassic era, maybe, see the dinosaurs up. Like, wouldn't that be amazing? And then get the hell out of there quick, because I know I'm prey in that timeline. I want to be the alpha predator. So, like I said, drop anchor around 1985. That's the sweet spot.
85. The watches were better. The aesthetic was better. The men were men. The women were women. Farrah Fawcett had that great hair. It was just and the cars. The cars were great. The wrestling was great. Everything was great. It was fun.
And also, if I made it to 1985, I would know what happens in the future when I went to the Smoky Lake Rodeo and rode a bull, and I would decline to ride it and not go to the hospital.
Yes. And I would then know that you would tell that same story over and over and over and over and over again. And every time you get even close to that time frame or I mention anything remotely Western. Okay, let's talk about the documentary.
Okay.
So our documentary, I'm pleased and excited to say, is finished. Now, that documentary is, you can find details at savethechristians.com. It's called Church Under Fire, Canada's War on Christianity. It tells the story of the attacks on churches and congregations during COVID-19, but it gives a little bit of a historical backstop to the idea that this is nothing new and it's actually part of Justin Trudeau's DNA, his political DNA. And we've added showings. Our world premiere is in Calgary on July 5th. Very excited. If you want to come to that, go to savethechristians.com right now, get your tickets, because our events always show out and sell out. And then I've got people emailing me, texting me, calling me, messaging me saying, Sheila, can you get me tickets? And I can't. We end up like, we run up against the fire code, right? Like, I'd love to let you in, but I just can't. So the good news is this is the world premiere is in Calgary, but we're touring this documentary across the country. We want to be close to the congregations that stood up. And so we've got world premiere in Calgary, that's July 5th. Then we've got July 6th, back-to-back showings. So if you can't make the first one, make the second one. Then we've got Meadows Cinemas in Toronto. Sorry, that's Canny Meadows Cinemas. Sorry, Toronto is the Eglinton Grand. I was just there over the weekend for a Jordan Peterson event with Justice Center. Beautiful venue. If you're in Toronto... Yeah, if you're in Toronto, you want to go there. Then we've got one in Ottawa. That's Ottawa Community Church. Then this is very exciting to me because my friend Lise is in Saskatchewan and she is very, very enthusiastic about this one. We've got St. Mary's Parish Catholic Church. They've agreed to show it. Then we're going to St. John, New Brunswick. So this is the Higher Life Church. This is Pastor Phil's church. And so we're very excited to be back with Pastor Phil. Pastor Phil feels like he could be in my family. Like I met him in person for the first time. I've met him maybe a dozen or so times just covering his story, but to see him and his family, he just feels like he's one of us. You know what? You could take that man out of the East and drop him in small town Alberta and he'd hit the ground running. And then we've got Steinbach, Manitoba, at Keystone Cinemas on my birthday. And then on July 17th, Church in the Vine, our friends at Church in the Vine who are in the documentary. So we've got a whole bunch of documentary showings. But the thing is, they are select attendance in the cities that they're in. So if you want to see it in person with us, with me and Kian, and even some of the pastors who are featured in the documentaries, then go right now, savethechristians.com, get your tickets immediately because they will sell out.
Fantastic, Sheila. And so you teased before the break, more Transanity, I can see, and even worse, Transanity being funded by the taxpayer dollar. Oh, Sheila, say it ain't so.
You know, this is, again, more of the Liberals doing what the Liberals do. So they give these expert groups a bunch of money to track the political enemies of the Liberals. And so they did this with the Canadian Anti-Hate Network. They gave them money through the Heritage Foundation to track online extremists, but then they did this neat little thing and labeled everybody who disagreed with the Liberals online extremists. And then the Anti-Hate Network goes on TV and touts themselves as experts on extremism. Wouldn't you know it, they never list people like Antifa because they're Antifa linked, according to a judge. So they're doing that, worked for them, or it's been working for the Liberals. So they decided to do it with the trans objectors. So the Department of Canadian Heritage gave $500,000 to an organization to track anti-trans organizing. Now, that is a very long, vague way of saying parents who show up at school board meetings. And we've seen this stuff done in the United States. They weaponize the government to label parents as radicals and extremists. Well, they've sort of given this to sort of offloaded it onto this group where the government is paying a group now to track you and label you as an anti-trans organizer when you're just a parent who says, I kind of know what I want to know what things you're teaching my kids, and I don't want you showing pornography to my children in the library. That's going to get you labeled an anti-trans organizer by these people. Do we have the screenshot of who and what this group looks like? You know what, friends? If we don't have that screenshot, they look exactly how you think they're going to look. Exactly what you think an online mob of transgender snoops, spies, and tattletales are gonna look. They're doing their best, like Karen impersonation, but if Karen started off as Carl.
As they said on Laughing, Sheila, sock it to me.
Oh, got it. There we go. They look like they could win an award from the YWCA, don't they?
You know what? If we ever do go to war with China, can we just surrender? Because if that's the sort of caliber of soldier showing up in the draft in the foxhole, we may as well not even bother, Sheila. Jeez.
We didn't win the Cold War. We didn't. Look at this. $516,000. 14-month program called Justice Trans. They're going to develop community-informed solutions to key barriers and gaps faced by the alphabet people. This will be achieved by, this is the sinister part, this will be achieved by identifying, documenting, and tracking anti-trans organizing in Canada and developing safety solutions to address it. They'll conduct in-depth consultations and a pan-Canadian environmental scan in collaboration with gross, women's organizations and two-spirit trans non-binary and gender non-conforming advocates and service providers, including health and mental health providers. They're not talking to the right mental health providers, but these people are going to be spying on you and labeling you sinister and destructive, and they're getting your money to do it. Look at these. You're buying that pizza for their weird Zoom pizza party. God, these people are pathetic.
Wow. It looks like the Hollywood Squares, except with members of the Munsters and the Addams family. Sheila, what is anti-trans behavior in the first place? Is that a parent who says, I don't think a drag queen speaking to elementary students, especially one who has a wardrobe malfunction in which his balls pop out of his costume, I don't think that's appropriate. Is that anti-trans behavior?
I don't know. Am I anti-trans if I say I don't want to pay for this? Am I on some sort of watch list now? I was on a watch list to start with, I'm sure. I've never not been searched at the airport, by the way. It's just, that's the part that really bothers me. If these people want to organize and be a bunch of tattletale snoops and whine to social media, who cares, right? I don't want to pay for any of it. And that's my whole objection to all of this stuff. I don't want to use your words and I don't want to pay for any of it, but they keep making laws that force me to use their words. And now I continue to pay for people to label me as some sort of terrorist when I'm just minding my own business.
Sheila, a hypothetical question for you. What do you think Erin O'Toole weighs in on giving hundreds of thousands of dollars to trans activists?
He'd probably up it to $1 million. Because we have to make them like us. That's his whole deal, is the social license. Notley used to do that, right? Like we have to suck up to the environmentalist groups and concede everything to them because we need social license from them, as though we need permission from them. This is the same thing. Erin O'Toole is just a social licenser. He thinks we need permission from our enemies to do things our enemies will never let us do anyway.
Unbelievable. And then I see Ottawa starting a $25 million entrepreneurship program for gender diverse businesses. Why do I get the suspicion when they say gender diverse, that doesn't mean female owned and operated businesses, but maybe something else, Sheila?
A $25 million entrepreneurship program for gender diverse businesses. Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada says over 100,000 businesses in the country are owned and operated by sexual minorities.
I don't believe that, by the way.
I
do not believe that. That doesn't gin with the demographic information on that community.
I don't care. That's the thing about this. I don't care. Go to the bank for a loan. I don't care about any of this stuff. Don't make me care. I don't understand why any of this is a thing. So the feds aim to bolster procurement, financing, and mentorship opportunities to gender diverse business owners. Why would anybody care who their carpet cleaner is banging? Like, I don't understand any of this stuff.
And Sheila,
I dispute the numbers completely.
And in case there's any kind of theory out there that these kind of gender diverse people going to, as you advise, going to a bank would meet with resistance, are you kidding me? Go to a bank right now, folks. Every bank is tied to a color. TD, it's green. BMO, it's blue. Scotiabank, it's red. Oh, not this month and beyond. It is a rainbow. It is just a multicolored rainbow of colors. They are totally all in on LGBTQ. If you think a bank manager is going to hold it against you that you're a member of the Rainbow Mafia, you got another thing coming. They are going to probably make some shortcuts to get you that loan in the name of diversity, inclusion, and equity. There's your unholy trinity, Sheila.
Yeah, let's just look at this for a second. Small Business Minister Mary Ng said Thursday the Canadian Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce would oversee the funding disbursement. Who the hell are those people? They have their own Chamber of Commerce?
I didn't know that.
They're self-segregating? I thought that we were against that. I thought we wanted like complete integration and acceptance, and now we're self-segregating. I don't understand any of this. And constantly we're accused of discriminating and genociding sexual minorities. And I'm like, you guys have summer now. And we're deciding to give you money based on your sexual preferences to start your HVAC business or whatever. Like, I don't understand why any of this is happening. But to call these folks marginalized seems a bit of an exaggeration, given the privileges they are getting.
And look at the story we posted a few days ago. A lady in Toronto, Judy Lawrence, decided to go to the Shoppers Drug Mart at Manulife Centre to return her Maybelline cosmetics because she is disgusted with Dylan Mulvaney, basically the Grim Reaper of marketing these days. Just ask the people at Anheuser-Busch how Bud Light is going along. And she didn't even want her money back, folks. Well, guess what? The staff at Shoppers Drug Mart freaked out. They said she was spreading hate speech. They said she was turning the drugstore into an unsafe space. And she was frog marched out. And an update, and we'll do a full story on this later, Sheila. She went back yesterday just to shop at that Shoppers Drug Mart. A mall security officer intercepted her and said, basically, she is banned for life, not just from the Shoppers Drug Mart, but all the stores and restaurants and movie theaters at Manulife Centre because she, quote, caused a scene, end quote, i.e. dropping off her cosmetics and saying, I don't even want my money back. I just want you to know why I'm returning them. Unbelievable.
Just on a completely unrelated note, I love that lady's hair. But also, I do, but also, she and her dog look like each other. And I mean that in the cutest possible way. She's this tiny little lady with the exact same hair color as her little mop dog who's also tiny. Like, look at that. Well, she and her dog strongly resemble each other in the cutest possible way. I mean it in the nicest way possible.
And here's why I love Judy Lawrence. Her dog's name is Rose Trump. And And the reason why, well, not the reason why she's so tiny, but you are right in picking up that she's a very tiny lady, because going back to yesterdecade, she was en route to becoming a female jockey. Sheila had a job at Woodbine, training the horses. And I think as the story goes, it was before her first race. Something spooked a horse that she was training the day before race day. She got bucked off the horse, and then the horse shattered her kneecap with its hoof. And that her jockey career ended before it began. So, that's such a sad story of what happened to her dream getting canceled like that. But it goes from a wild horse canceling her dream to wild LGBT folk at Shoppers Drug Mart canceling her shopping safaris. So you tell me, where is the hatred exactly? What side of the coin, folks, are the haters and the ones suffering from the hatred?
Well, she can't even go to the mall because she objected to this stuff in the most polite and well-behaved way. Yep. Now, we should just quickly touch on Adam's thing. He covered a protest,
yes.
where, as I've been saying for the last 2 weeks, nature's healing. So we'll talk about that, and we'll quickly hit an ad break, and then we'll finish up with the Robert F. Kennedy stuff.
Yes.
I'm a Robert F. Kennedy skeptic, and I'll tell you why after we do the ad break, because I can't forget about some of the things he said and done, even though he's on the right side of a certain issue right now. So let's show Adam's clip. So this is a school protest in Calgary against transing the kids, talking about this weird, gross stuff to kids who are not your own. For some reason, the other side of this debate wants to talk about this sort of things with little kids. And there's a parental uprising, and it is secular parents, it's Christian parents, it's New Canadians, and it's Muslim parents. And all these people that were told by the government should not get along, they're holding hands to defend the little ones. And so let's show a clip from that.
Yeah. We stand together as the Canadian people, as the Muslim and the Christian, to protect our children.
From them, from that.
Yes.
We don't need that. Or our children.
Leave our kids alone.
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 Leave our kids alone. Leave our kids alone. Leave our kids alone.
Leave our kids alone.
Leave our kids alone.
Yeah.
Oh, Sheila, I love it. It's also amazing, too, how Pink Floyd was so prescient with their Another Brick in the Wall album and song, namely the lyric, "Hey, teacher, leave them kids alone." Although I have to admit, I've always had problem with the lyric, "We don't need no education." That's a double negative. That would suggest you do need some education. Anyway, it was beautiful to see that presumably Muslim and Christian father, hand in hand, standing united against the Rainbow Mafia. And, boy, does that ever blow away the lefty narrative. Ooh, look at all those radicals wearing those red MAGA cap. Oh, wait a minute. No, those are hijabs, actually. Never mind.
Yep.
Oh,
I love it. I love everything about all of this.
Yep.
I love that the divisions cast on our society by liberals who tell us Christians don't like Muslims and Muslims don't like Christians and that we shouldn't talk to each other and we should stay apart. They fostered these divisions. Why? Because I think they knew we would unite around a common cause, and it was the little ones.
You know what? That's brilliant, Sheila. That is actually a brilliant observation.
Keep us apart.
Yep.
That's why they keep us apart and tell us we don't get along. Yep. And as they say in the Bible, whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a great millstone were hung around his neck and he were thrown into the sea. Now, that's a Christian Bible verse, but I feel like everybody in that crowd probably believes a little bit of that. And it makes me very happy to see. And, liberals wanted increased immigration. Friends, careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. And all of those people are all of a sudden social conservatives. And they're on our side now, losers.
Yeah, you are so right. Careful what you wish for, Sheila, because, you know, our wonderful boss, Ezra Levant, he has this analogy. I've said it before on the air. Human rights commissions and tribunals, they operate along the lines of, if you will, human rights poker. So someone like me, Sheila, white, able-bodied, male, well, I'm maybe 10 high card, but if you're part of the LGBTQ mafia, if you are a member of Islam, basically competing royal flushes. That is at the very top of the human rights poker chart. The only problem is these two groups get along about as well as the cobra and the mongoose. And right now, I got to tell you, I'm on Team Islam on this file when it comes to indoctrinating our children with sexual perverts, when it comes to turning the blind eye to the likes of Busty Lemieux, when it comes to drag queen story time. No. I stand with my Muslim brothers and sisters over Team Groomer. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. And like you said earlier, Sheila, this is the left's own miscalculations. This is their own doing that suddenly one half of that beloved whole is now dead set against them. I mean, last month, what was it, 140, 160 imams in Canada signing a letter against this whole LGBT activism. And you don't see that getting covered, do you, Sheila? Eh?
No. Yeah, I really enjoy all of this. You know, the atheistic, hedonistic left is getting mugged by reality because these devoutly religious people are beholden to their God and their religion above the state. That's something that I can relate to. I'm a social and cultural conservative. So, you know, I can hold hands with other people across religions if it means protecting our most precious resource, and that's our little ones. And you know, good. This looks so good on the left. They look like the bigots they are now. Like they've been doing this stuff to Christians forever, but Christians, they're victims of I think the most acceptable form of bigotry, but the Muslims, not yet. Not yet. So
and you know
I'm
something?
happy about it.
And Sheila, let me ask you to speculate yet again. Whenever this next federal election is, I doubt it's this year, probably next year, could be 2025, but I would bet on next year. I'm wondering if this issue costs the blackface liberals at the ballot box when you see Muslims as a bloc rejecting this pro-rainbow mafia narrative and saying, you know what? We've taken another look at the political landscape, and yeah, the Conservative Party is more in line with our values than the Liberals.
Oh, yeah. I think largely these people just want to be left alone to worship in peace and raise their children in peace. And again, I hear you, friends. I'm with you. So yeah, I'm really happy to see the left getting exactly what they so rightly deserve from this. And they find themselves in a real pickle, don't they? And it's not my problem, it's theirs.
Give me a front row seat, can of pop and a popcorn. I'm happy. Sheila, before we sign off,
to a nicer bunch.
you teased your, I guess, theory about RFK Jr. What is that again?
I don't really have a theory, but Olivia, do we have a time for a quick ad break before we go into this vid with Okay, let's do an ad break. I can stay a little bit late if it's all right with David. So let's hit an ad break and then let's talk about this RFK stuff. Living with spike protein in a post-pandemic world is something we all have to grapple with, whether you've had the virus, you've been vaccinated yourself, or if you're around those who were. The wellness company's Spike Support Formula is a daily supplement that can help you feel your best and then stay that way. Go to twccanada.health to get back to that pre-pandemic feeling with Spike Support. Use coupon code REBEL to save 10% off these doctor-formulated products, which are rooted in science. And for a limited time, your first month's membership is only 99 cents. That's twccanada.health, coupon code REBEL at checkout. It's time to put your wellness back in the driver's seat. God, it's weird watching that ad when I'm wearing the exact same clothes. My hair's exactly the same and my makeup's done the exact same way. Very strange.
Hey, maybe one day, Sheila, when they get cloning down pat, that'll be the reality. You're going to have your clone do all the work while you suntan or do whatever it is you like doing in your free time.
I saw that episode of Simpsons. Remember? Homer jumped in the magic, what is it, a hammock, and they pumped the clones out the other side. Do you remember? And they had to use a big donut to like lure them off a cliff. That'll happen to me.
I think I missed that one.
Oh, yeah, it's a Treehouse of Horrors one, but apparently I'm a creature of habit. So let's talk about RFK. So yes. RFK, he's wants to challenge Joe Biden to be the Democrat nominee for president. And, Frank couldn't be worse. So you know what? Let him run. Let him try. And RFK has been a real vaccine skeptic, a real lockdown skeptic, a real pandemic skeptic, and a real advocate for human rights and anti-coercion and just letting people live their lives. And apparently, hindsight being 2020, he's been right the whole time. And he's very outspoken, and he will, to his credit, speak to people on the other side of the debate. I think that might be a new development since people on his side are very close-minded. And so the people like conservatives and libertarian-minded people, we want to talk to everybody because we want to challenge our own ideas. I like to test my ideas to make sure that I'm right. The left knows that their ideas can't stand up to scrutiny, so forget the testing. So RFK went on Joe Rogan, excuse me. Could you imagine? Anyways, could you imagine if Biden had a podcast? I would tune into that 100%.
Oh, me too.
But he went on Joe Rogan, talked about vaccines, and then so this other very strange doctor, I think Peter Hotez, people online were challenging him to debate RFK. People were putting up money. I think like Dave Rubin said he'd put up money, and there are other like more prominent people in the conservative ecosystem were saying like, hey, if you actually debate him, we'll put up some money for the debate. And so anyways, now he's saying he doesn't want to debate him. Of course not, because you can't. But anyways, we've got an MSNBC host now saying, oh, definitely don't debate him. Because I don't know, you don't talk to these people. They're too stupid to talk to. And I'm like, if you think we're stupid, then you shouldn't have any problem just walking across us with your big ideas. And just pay attention. Again, I don't want to be like this because I already did this with the trans snoops a couple segments back. But just look at this fella here. The guy in the white coat in his office. You're not at work, buddy. You're not in the lab. So don't appeal to the white coat. But just look at him for a second. And then can somebody dig up a picture of Rogan and RFK once we're done watching this video? Okay, go.
RFK has contributed to a culture, a vaccine misinformation culture, that has led to the deaths, as you say, of hundreds of thousands of lives. And yet he's the one being celebrated by tech billionaires like Musk and Jack Dorsey, while you're being smeared and defamed. And I would say, I don't know if you've agreed to debate or not. My advice is not to, and people might find that surprising because I wrote a book about debate. But I just think there's a time and a place for a debate. I don't think a historian of World War II should debate a Holocaust denier. I just think, that's my analogy here. Like, I don't think these debates between experts and cranks do anything other than elevate the cranks.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, there are certain things you debate. I understand what a debate about 18th century Enlightenment philosophy is, and debating Rousseau and Bishop Berkeley. I understand what political debates are. But in science, we don't typically do debates. What we do is we write scientific papers. We present our findings in front of a critical audience of our peers to solicit their input and suggestions. But one doesn't typically debate science. Maybe the one-off discussion of evolution versus creationism and that sort of thing, but that's not what we do in science.
You don't debate things in science. You don't test your ideas in science. Is that what he's saying? No, that's what we do. That's how you advance science. That's how you advance them.
Yeah, I think the real fear here, Sheila, is he's worried about being confounded by logic and not being able to give a valid response to someone who is not in his corner, like some mainstream media shill. I'll tell you that it's neither here nor there, but that guy sure looks like the villain in the 1967 Matt Helm movie, The Ambushers, for whatever reason.
It's worse. It gets worse. Okay, so, and I don't mean to do this.
Oh, no.
We did have, for a time, a morbidly obese health minister here in Alberta, and I was like, come on. Like, come on. And then there was that one in Belgium who was like, I think she's dying. I think she's lost some toes to diabetes. She was the health minister in Belgium. And I think it was Dave Hancock was our old health minister under Redford. He actually decided to get healthy when they appointed him to the health ministry. He was like, I got to lose some weight. Yeah, pick your health leader. America, Canada, Britain, and we could put Sarah Hoffman in there too. But anyways, so are we catching a theme here? These people trying to tell you what's healthy for you and live your life. They all sort of look a certain way, and they are all, let's be honest, dying. So same thing here. So this doctor who refuses to debate, we've got the tweet from Elijah Schaffer. There's RFK. I think he's in his 60s. He looks deadly. He looks great. Whatever he's doing, keep doing it. Skin looks great. He looks young. He looks strong. Like, you can see his pecs through his shirt. And this is the doctor on the other side. He looks like your postmenopausal great aunt Wanda again. He's the guy telling you to get the vaccine because he knows what's healthy for you, and we shouldn't listen to Rogan, and we shouldn't listen to this RFK because they don't know what they're talking about with health. What?
And Sheila, here's why I'm going to say to the audience why what you just said is not an ad hominem attack, because it's much like, say you were a personal trainer. Folks, if you went to the gym and you hired a personal trainer and that personal trainer was 400 pounds and completely out of shape, would you even book one session? Similarly with a doctor, to be morbidly obese, I'm sorry, but we know there are ways to safely lose weight and get back down to a healthy weight. I mean, my goodness, Sheila, we have what I call fat reality TV. We have multiple shows on right there. The 1,000-Pound Sisters, My 600-Pound Life, Supersized, you name it. It's a whole genre, but they're all one and the same in that it is people that are dealing with horrific, morbidly obese issues, going on a diet and an exercise regime to lose literally hundreds of pounds. So we know it can be done. And we know that a doctor knows especially that it can be done. So what is this? Laziness? A lack of discipline that they can't stop eating? You know, and by the way, if anyone's saying, oh, look at the fat man preaching, I admit it. I'd love to lose another 25 pounds. I'm fat. That's why I put my ricotta cheese candy ass on a bike almost every second day and cycle 40 kilometers, even when all the broadcast Karens are going, oh, we have a high UV index, stay indoor and drink lots of water and stay in the shade. No. So where there's a will, there's a way. And if you're part of the medical establishment, much like if you're part of the personal trainer establishment, and you look like a physical wreck, as the saying goes, doctor, heal thyself.
Yeah. You know, I've got 3 kids. I've gained and lost more weight than a lot of people in their life, right? Like, but it's something you got to work at. You have to be disciplined with your food and your exercise and your lifestyle. You have to be. And like, I'm not here to give anybody medical advice, but those people are, and they look terrible. We've got a clip of, I think, that same doctor on Rogan making like the craziest claim. And this goes to your point, David, that it is laziness. He would rather take a shortcut and advise people to take a shortcut that in the end we now know didn't really work, rather than do the hard thing and get your health in order. And we do know that people who died of COVID or who were hospitalized because of COVID, they had normally 3 comorbidities, and almost all of those comorbidities were obesity related. So renal disease, diabetes, heart disease. It was all of those things. So normally those are lifestyle related issues. By and large, more people are type 2 diabetes than type 1. And there's one way to deal with type 2 diabetes. And that's lose weight and get your health in check. But he was telling people, don't get your health in check. If you have a choice between getting your health in check and avoiding all those other illnesses plus COVID-19 or taking the vaccine, he told people to take the vaccine, which didn't work. Let's watch.
Do you take care of your immune system in other ways? Do you take probiotics? Are you cautious about your diet?
I'm not as cautious about my diet as I should be. I'm a junk foodaholic.
No kidding.
Actually.
Well, that seems like a terrible thing for your health.
It is a terrible thing for my health, and something my wife is working on.
But that seems ridiculous for someone who works with health.
Yeah.
What's going on with you, man?
Sometimes, man, I just don't get it right.
How often?
What?
How often?
How often do I steal a bag of chips or something like that?
How often do you eat garbage?
I don't know. No, hopefully not every day, but
hopefully not every day.
Yeah, maybe a couple of times a week.
Every day.
Oh.
That's what with Rachel, my daughter with autism. That's like our thing is to go to the it's called the burger joint or to Shake Shack to get a cheeseburger. We'll sneak some fries.
So you
live in large, we call it.
Like that mouth pleasure so much, you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of
I
health.
am. Yeah. I have to concede that's the case.
Well, there's, I don't have to tell you, but there's a large body of data that connects poor diet to a host of diseases. Mm-hmm. That seems like a crazy decision for a guy in your line of work.
There you go. Sometimes it's not all brain. It's something else.
But if you ate healthy food, the thing is your body starts craving healthy food. You start feeling
no question,
results.
no question about it.
Do you take vitamins?
I don't take vitamins.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think they do. I don't think they're needed because most in the American.
Hold up. You don't think they're needed?
They're needed
if
your diet is garbage.
Well, hopefully I'm not only eating junk food.
Okay,
right?
but there's a large body of clinical research on the efficacy of vitamins, especially vitamins D, vitamins B.
I have taken vitamin D for periods on the recommendation of my internist. Yeah.
What about essential fatty acids, which are great for your brain, fish oil? All these different things that are fantastic for
I'm not going to argue with you.
What is going on with you, doctor?
You got it. You got it over me. Yeah.
You got to listen, but you would have a much better argument. Don't you think?
You're making my wife's day here.
If you're taking care of yourself 100% instead of just concentrating.
But you still need your vaccines.
I'm sure you do, but vaccines aren't going to prevent cancer.
No, that's true.
Right.
That's true.
There's a lot of diseases.
Or diabetes or cardiovascular disease.
And a lot of these diseases are connected directly to diet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
And other lifestyle changes.
Yeah. Got to get exercising.
Sedentary life. I try to go on the treadmill for 30 minutes every morning. I do it. Actually, I'm pretty good about that.
Yeah.
30 minutes every morning.
Why don't you just go for an actual walk? It's more interesting.
I do that too. So
I do
30 minutes on the treadmill in the morning, and then I take a long walk with my wife in the evening.
Oh, that's good.
But
the thing
that knocks the crap out of you is the travel.
Yes.
I find that very frustrating because you don't exercise right, and then you don't eat well, and you don't control the diet as well. So that's
well, I have a solution to that. And eat well and exercise. Those are solutions to that. Just do it. I treat it like I'm brushing my teeth. I brush my teeth every day.
Yeah.
I exercise every day too.
Yeah.
So when I travel, I don't have an option. When I land, I go to the gym. This is how it goes. I land, I get in my hotel room, I put my shorts on.
Yeah, I do that too. I do that too.
It's the only way.
No, you don't.
If you have to do it, if you say this is just what gets done, this is how you do it.
Yeah, I try to be really compulsive about that. So
yeah, I have it written out. I know what I'm going to do, especially if it's great if the hotel has a good gym. The hotel, if they have weights and a bunch of different.
Or I'll run outside if we don't have it.
You run?
Yeah,
Do you?
Not very well, but
No, but you do? Okay.
Yeah.
We got to get you healthy, buddy.
Yeah.
Can't be pushing only chemicals in injectable forms to facilitate health.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair. Not chemicals, they're vaccines.
Oh, I'm sorry. What's in them?
What?
It's not. I mean, it's some sort of chemical, no?
No, they're antigens, right? They're
What's the fluid?
Macromolecules.
What's the liquid stuff?
Typically, it would be saline or salt water. And
Right.
Well, Sheila, at least we now know what happened to the Hamburglar, or is it Mayor McCheese?
How did I describe him? No, how did I describe him in the pre-meeting for this? Grimace.
Grimace.
Grimace shaped.
Well, that interviewing was making me grimace. Not what Joe was. Joe took him to school. And by
Quietly.
the way, Joe Rogan is bang on. For the last few decades, Sheila, I've been taking vitamins. I vouch for them 100%. And if anyone doesn't believe me, Mr. Producer can go into the workroom and grab. I actually have a bag. It's so many vitamins I take. And also, I just want to give a shout out to probiotics, which Joe mentioned. About 4 years ago, a doctor, because I was going in, I was complaining about terrible stomach aches. And he said, "Do you take probiotics?" And I said, "No." He said, "Do it starting right now." It changed my life, Sheila. It's, the ancient Greek doctors believed everything began in the gut in terms of health. And that's what the probiotics bolster, your gut health. And I can't stress it enough, especially if anyone's suffering from stomach pains, upset stomach, take probiotics, changed my life. Exercise, of course. Sheila, this weekend, I swear I didn't feel like getting on that bicycle. I forced myself. Funny thing happens. It's kind of like an engine warming up on a minus 40 day. After you get going for about 12 or 15 minutes, you're in a routine and you're back into, exercise mode. Also, it's funny how that story changed. He was admitting that he was a fast food holic. And then suddenly, as Joe Rogan said how important it is to exercise, suddenly, he's an exerciser. He's doing 30 minutes on the treadmill. By the way, what speed? That's what I want to know.
No, in the morning, and then he walks with his wife at night. So you're getting an hour of cardio. No, the hell you are.
Yeah.
The hell he is. The part that I found really objectionable is what he's teaching his autistic daughter.
Yes.
Because he said, my kids, I try to model a good example for my kids. And to the point now where I'm trying to keep up with the older ones because they're really active and fit. But that, and to think of your body as you're created in the image of the divine, which is a great gift, but also pretty heady responsibility. You should treat yourself accordingly. That you're this precious thing. And so, I try to model that with my kids and take care of myself. And I, unlike this man, actually work out even when I'm on the road. Like, he complains about the travel. He and Simone will tell you, because we travel all the time for work and documentaries, and we travel together. The first thing I do after I check in, while he's checking into his room, is I'm like, where's the gym? I want to go see where the gym is. I want to see what the equipment is, because I can go upstairs and throw my luggage there after I've just been on a grueling travel schedule, and I can just lay on the couch or on the bed for 30 minutes or 45 minutes, or I can take that time, go work out, get rid of the jet lag, and the stiffness from sitting in a chair on a plane, and you just you build it in. It's the first thing I do, and then it's done. I don't have to worry about it anymore. But again, getting back to my point, the thing that I find objectionable is the thing that he does with his autistic daughter is they go and eat junk food.
Yeah.
My daughter is 14, my youngest. You know what we do? We'll go for a little hike. We'll go for a rip on the quad. We'll be outside getting fresh air, being active. That's what I want her to remember her and I doing together when she's older, the things that we did together. That's the experience I want to take away. I don't want her to think about the time that we went and stuffed a bunch of carbohydrates and sugar into our faces. That hardly seems like memory making. I want to do fun things with them so that they remember me as the active mom who did things with them. And I don't think just going to eat garbage is a thing that my kids should remember about me.
Well, two things, Sheila. I don't understand really why he found it necessary to mention that he had an autistic daughter. But to your point, I don't think autistic children are prone to eating junk food, he could do what you do with your daughter. Go for that hike, go for long walks, what have you. Autism doesn't prevent that from happening. And Sheila, if I do say so myself, you've got the opposite problem of him. You've lost so much weight.
I put some on lately. I put some on lately. I've been really trying to put muscle on.
No, I like the 2018 version of Sheila Gunn Reid, folks. She had some curves to her. She went on some crazy exercise regime. She's got to slow it down. But that's just me. And I hope I didn't get in trouble with Human Resources again.
I just changed how I eat. I don't work out any more or less than I did before, but muscles are made in the kitchen. And so I just changed how I eat and tightened things up a little bit. And I've been really working hard to put on some muscle mass, which I have been. So I've from my lowest to now, I think I'm up about 20 pounds, which is substantial.
Fantastic.
So
well,
anyway.
Great interview. Well, we're at the end of the road, unless we have some super chat, Sheila.
We do have a few and some advice about what you can do to catch the rat. Somebody says...
thank you. I got my pen out. Please.
Use peanut butter instead of cheese. That makes a great point. My mother-in-law told me this one time. They can knock the cheese out, right? Like they can knock it out, but they can't knock out the peanut butter. So they'll reach and try to grab it or lick it out. And that's when they go home to Jesus.
That's brilliant. But Sheila, what if they have a peanut butter allergy?
Then they die of anaphylaxis, and you get to keep the mouse trap for another day.
Thank you.
All right. And Dave on the web team also confirms that peanut butter is what he uses for mouse traps.
Jeez. Boy, you think we got a bit of a rodent problem here in the Greater Toronto area? Our nickname is Hogtown. Maybe it should have been Rat City.
I use a cat. I just have a cat, and she knows what she's supposed to do around here. I thought she was like biting on a dog squeak toy the other day because she was walking through the yard, and I heard like squeak, squeak, and I thought she was just chewing on the dog toy or something. But I look over and she's got a full squirrel in her mouth. Wow! She's like biting it as she's walking through the yard, and she's not a big cat.
But not a black squirrel. You don't have those out there, do you?
We don't. No.
We got a ton of them here.
No, ours are just red. Okay, Fraser McBurney gives us $5. The most asinine thing happened in Hamilton this Sunday. They closed King Street from Gage to Sherman for the lefties so that they could walk and ride down the street. They blocked every street. I couldn't get out. Weird.
Wow. Well, it's funny, Fraser, because I was in Hamilton this Saturday. Went to a venue to see both Menzoy juniors compete in a mixed martial arts fight. It was fantastic. And I'll be back to the Hammer, to that venue for some more of those fighting shenanigans. So that was your problem. You were down in some rainbow enclave. You should have come to, I think it was King Street, maybe. I can't remember the name of the venue, but you would have seen a lot of macho men and a few women too get in the ring. I don't know what it is, Sheila. When the women fight, it just there's an added element of intensity.
Don't. Yeah, there's some lady wrestlers with the Dungeon Wrestling Tour, and I'm scared to chirp them because I know the guys, if I chirp them, they're not going to want to fight me. But I'm like, are they going to take me seriously? Are they going to, what is her name? I forget her name. Taryn from accounting, I think was her thing, which is like a HR person or whatever. I'm like, is she going to want to fight me if I chirp her? I'm scared. Wow. Anyway, to continue, Fraser gives us another $5. The cost of the police at double time and a half, plus all the city workers, no porta potties, late emergency vehicles, more time and gas wasted, plus no water station. As you know, the city will spare no cost for a lefty protest, right? Like we saw this with all the BLM nonsense and pride parades and everything. But if you just want to be on the street corner, unmolested by the state, forget it. They're going to come get you.
What happened to Hamilton? Because this is where so much steel production occurs, Sheila. I mean, it gets its nickname from that, Steel Town and the Hammer. And then suddenly there's this, does not compute. I have a theory. In the mid to late 90s into the early 2000s, Hamilton was an undiscovered gem, if you will, for Torontonians hoping to evade high real estate prices, move to Hamilton, get 3 times the house for your Toronto dollar, and just take the GO train into Hogtown. When that caught on, that loophole disappeared. But what do you want to bet? It was that infusion of Toronto Liberals that has turned things leftwise for Hamilton.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. for sure. Let's keep going. We've got a couple more, and then I've got to get back to all the other things that are on my list of things to do today. We've got my friend Mike Mayer from Freedom Honey, who sent a very nice care package to you a couple weeks ago, David.
Yes.
He and his soon-to-be wife, Sherry, awesome engagement photos, by the way. There's a lot of firearms in their engagement photos. I really enjoyed it. They were behind the original incarnation of People versus Predators. And so they advocate for kids and kids who are subject to grooming and all sorts of things. So Mike says, seeing people from different walks in life to stand up for protecting kids, love to see it. Yeah, I bet you do.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Freedom Honey, you can't go wrong. And again, to paraphrase John Lennon, all we are saying is give bees a chance.
Oh my God. You know what? If you could just find that bee emoji on your phone, I'd be happy. I don't know if people at home know this story, but David, he uses this bizarre phrase that is exclusive to David, be thanking you. Like when I say like, yeah, go do that. That's cool. I approve that story. Get out there. And he'll say, be thanking you. And then he shortened it to just a bee emoji. And we knew that was our thing. I knew that was David saying thank you to me. But now he lost the bee emoji in his iPhone. So now he types out bee emoji. The words, the emoji, and sends that to me.
These machines hate me, Sheila, I swear to God.
Just boomers versus technology again. Okay, let's keep going. Also, Yankee reminds me that RFK is 69.
Oh, Sheila, I think we might have, we have a frozen woman issue here. Yep, do we, guys?
Am I frozen?
Okay, then I believe Sheila was about to mention a reminder from Yankee, and it probably has to do with something about our
I'm
social...
back.
Oh, there you go.
I'm back.
Thank you.
I'm back. Elon Musk is my internet provider, so I don't know what's happening there. But Yankee reminds me that RFK is 69 years old.
Wow.
Whatever he's doing is working. But the reason, I forgot to mention to everybody, the reason I'm an RFK skeptic is he is a staunch environmentalist and he's very anti-oil sands. So while I might have a meeting of the minds with him on this one thing, I wish he would really consider the science in oil and gas and climate change, because he should realize, look, if the establishment has been lying to us about COVID-19, then perhaps they were lying to us about the other things by which they want to control our lives. And those things first were environmentalism.
That's so true, Sheila. Well, I'll leave it up to you to re-educate him. And maybe what we can do is send him a care package. First and foremost, Ezra Levin's wonderful book, Ethical Oil. That would be all he needs to know, I would imagine.
I think so. Okay, let's keep going. Enoch O gives us $2. So are we going to have a Rebel fans meetup in Israel, like in 2018 with Katie Hopkins, which I had to cancel my ticket for a last-minute work call. We're just sorting out the fine details of our trip to Israel. If you're still interested, it's rebelvacations.com. We're headed to Israel later on in the summer, and I'm very excited because there's so much to see and do, and you will never see and do it all. And this will be my 3rd trip back to the Holy Land. And so I'm going to come back with pockets full of rosaries again. But normally we do, or at least we did the last time, and I think the time before that, planned sort of an impromptu, hey, if you're in Israel and you love us, we're going to be here. We'd love to meet with you and, shoot the breeze and have a couple of drinks, but we don't know where we will be when quite yet. We haven't finalized the agenda. So when that sort of comes together, then perhaps some of those other things will come together. And I think Kian and I are thinking about doing something while we're there, but we just need to think about venues. And so once we know where we will be on a certain day, then we'll figure something out there.
Fantastic. And I believe, Sheila, correct me if I'm wrong, it's shortly after Labor Day we head off to Israel. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so. And we don't have Labor Day in Alberta. It's called Alberta Day. We snatched the day from the unions. And it's the celebration of Alberta's birthday. And so while I disagree with Jason Kenney on a great many things, one of his greatest legacies will be stealing Labor Day from the unions and giving it back to the common man, the Albertan. So we don't have Labor Day. We have Alberta Day.
Well, so are you telling me if Rachel Notley had been successful last month in winning the election, she would revert Alberta Day to Labor Day again?
Oh, for sure. For sure she would. Why wouldn't she?
I mean, this whole, like, even the holidays are politicized these days. It's unbelievable.
They're the worst. Okay, and last one. And by the way, Enoch, I promise you, I will email you when I know something. I know you emailed me last week, and I said what I just said now. I don't know where we're going to be yet, where on what given day, because we're just bopping around the country. But as soon as I know, I'll let you know. Justin Trudeau gives us $2, says SGR is looking so fire, I guess. Fire these days. She's at risk of her own climate tax. Well, thank you. Might I suggest you eat more meat and lift up heavy things and put them back down. That's the secret to my success over here.
Well, fantastic.
And that's it.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Well, there you go, folks. Another show wrapping up. Thanks again to Olivia and Efren, our super producers. Couldn't do it without them. Thank you to my co-host, Sheila Gunn-Reid. Thank you to everybody that tuned in, especially those who gave those donations. That is so greatly appreciated. We really do appreciate that. And just to let you know, folks, I won't be on the Daily Roundup for the next 4 days. The Alberta team is on Friday. For the next 3 days,